Are you ready to continue our conversation about mastering dementia? So today we're going to talk about the T in the word master. And the T stands for time away. You know, the number one thing I hear care partners say they need is time away from their person, and there's absolutely no shame in this. I think most of you, I'm pretty sure, are resonating with this right now. So I'm not going to spend time telling you and convincing you that you need time away, because what good does that do? People just telling you that you need to get away, right? Because the very next thought that usually goes through people's mind is, well, that's not, but that's not going to happen, right? How is that ever going to happen? How am I going to get away? How am I going to finance that? How am I going to find time for that? Where do I find someone? So last time I touched a little bit on this when I talked about the S in master, or support, and where we can find support either within our network of friends and family or outside of that network. So today I'd like to talk about the touchy part of this, and that is how to go about introducing your person to someone else so you can have a little time away for yourself. Maybe it's just to run an errand, or take a walk, or visit a friend, or maybe you have an opportunity to go on a little mini vacation and it's become too difficult to travel with your person because their symptoms just become exacerbated. So let's talk about a few topics that frequently come up when it comes to taking time away for yourself. And the first is, how do I increase the likelihood that my person is going to accept help from another person? And, this is something that commonly comes up because, just about around the time that you're starting to feel uncomfortable leaving them on their own, leaving them alone, that time corresponds to the time that they become very dependent upon you. So leaving can be very anxiety producing, not only for them, but for you too. So that's why I love people to think about adding others to the caregiving team, before you think you need it. But, let's face it, that is usually doesn't happen and we're already there. If we're thinking about time away, we're already there. So if you are worried about them accepting help, the first time you introduce this topic, just try being direct and honest. Who knows? Maybe they're going to surprise you and agree that, it would be nice to have someone else around when you step away for a little bit. You may have more success with this if you're specific. Maybe you say something like, Bob called and he would love to bring coffee over on Tuesday while I go to my hair appointment. It's specific. It may make sense to your person. Or if it's an agency person, Tammy from Companion Care, blah, 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 is coming on Tuesday while I go get my hair appointment. She'll fix you lunch. Something that sounds reasonable. But here's where the tricky part comes in. And I know some of you are like, yeah, well, that's never going to work with my person. I'm pretty skeptical about all of this. So if you're met with a lot of resistance, like a no way, I don't need any help, I don't want anyone else here, you may want to come at this from some kind of an angle that makes sense to them. So when I was providing home companion care for people living with dementia, this often was the case. And, I really relied on collaborating with the family or people that knew that person very well to collaborate with me, and we all came up with an angle. And by angle, I mean just a way to introduce and add assistance and have it accepted because it makes sense to that person. So let me give you a few examples of this. So many times I would come in as somebody who could provide driving assistance, provide a ride for people in order for them to run their errands, go to their appointments, or maybe we go out for lunch or get them out into the community and do something they're interested in. This would be after they've had their driver's license canceled due to dementia. So that driving piece kind of made sense to a lot of people. Or sometimes, maybe it was, helping them with their therapy, like we're going for a walk, or we're running through the exercise program that their therapist developed for them. Or maybe it was just helping fix a meal, or helping their spouse around the house. Or, sometimes it had to be a gradual insertion where, I came over for a short visit while the care partner was also there at first, just for a chit chat or something like that. And then gradually, as I became known, that care partner could step away for a little bit. And if someone is coming over, I will say, that doesn't know your person very well, it really helps to provide them with some background information about them. What they like and what they don't like, what topics to avoid. What are they interested in? What's their life story? Where did they grow up? What kind of job did they have? And so on, because all this information is going to give that companion, some ideas about what to talk about, and what to do with them. And it'll definitely help if you provide that person with just a few suggestions for, activities for the first few times they get together. Like, and it could be very simple. Like maybe they're just giving them a tour of the garden, or they're watering the plants together, or they're looking through a photo album. Or, maybe they're reading through an article about the person's hometown. Or maybe they play a game together. Or maybe they run some errands. And if there's a high level of resistance, maybe that person's just doing some home tasks for you, but they're there, just in case your person needs help with anything. So that's what I mean by angle. So almost every care partner that I've worked with was a little bit hesitant and skeptical at first in my, ability to engage their person, either because their person, had lacked some awareness that, they needed support, or, maybe this person, had previously refused outside help in the past. So I know it can be very stressful to get somebody in, and it's stressful because, and it will be stressful. I'm not gonna lie to you. The first time you leave them, it's going to feel like a lot of work and a lot of stress because, that person doesn't know your person like you do, and they are not going to do things the way you would do 100% of the time, right? What I have found though is that people living with dementia are surprisingly content to have, one-on-one attention and conversation from someone who is just kind of zoomed in to them. And even though it's not you, and it's not going to be done exactly the way you do it. And most people haven't noticed. Have you noticed this too? Are a little nicer to people that they're not as familiar with, right? So even though they may be a little hesitant at first, over time, as a companion becomes familiar, becomes much more easy. And if the companion and your person are not a good match, don't give up right away. Just like everything we've talked about, dementia requires a lot of pivoting. So pivot to a new person, pivot to a different activity idea or a different angle on getting someone in there. And it's perfectly acceptable to request, from a home care agency, someone who is very familiar and good working with people living with dementia. Of course, the easiest way to have someone accept help is to rely on the regulars, the regular people in your life, family, friends that they're very familiar with and have offered to come over. What I advise when you ask this, or if they ask if they can help, make your request specific. Like, could you come over and take John out for coffee on Friday mornings? Or could you come over and watch the ball game, while I go to the doctor? Make that ask specific. Or, daughter, can we have a standing visit, on Tuesday morning, that you bring the grandkids over every Tuesday morning, so, I can go wherever I need to go. And finally, just keep in mind adult daycare programs or adult day programs. This is a place where you can drop your person off for several hours, so you can get away and they can kind of receive that supervision and oversight that they need. All right, everyone. So I think that's about all I have to say for time away today. There's so much more, but our time together is short. And I really, really want to make sure we have time for a meditation today. And hopefully this has become a little bit of a mini break for you during the day. So let's just begin to settle into this moment and into ourselves. And as we do, let's just kind of send each other a virtual greeting of appreciation and love. Just bring your awareness to your breath as you slow yourself down this morning. This moment is for you. Time away from activity swirling all around you. Time away from the demands and the emotions of others. Time away from resistance and refusals. Time away from thinking about how you're going to maneuver your way through this day. Let's bring your awareness back to your breath and back to yourself. Let's just take a deep breath in and exhale out through your mouth. Take another deep breath of energy in through your nose. And as you do, fill yourself up with a calming and cleansing energy. Allow it to carve out a little space for yourself, a sacred space that surrounds you. A place of quiet, a place of respite. Just breathe into the space around you for a few moments. Just allowing this space to nourish you. Allowing this space to love and appreciate you the way that you deserve, but likely don't hear or receive very often from others. Receive it all here in this moment, all the love and appreciation. Breathe it in until you begin to feel it and believe it. And as you exhale, just release anything that is preventing you from receiving this space, this calm, this peace. We know how strong you are. We know how much you do every day. Just become aware from all the love, appreciation, and support that this group is sending you right now. know that you can return to this space when you need time away. We are here for you. You've got this.